This content is being brought to you by the Bourbon Real Talk American Whiskey Aroma Kit. This is a tool that I put together to help all you whiskey aficionados out there develop your palates. You can sit down with the vials and train your senses, or you can sit down with a great dram and break that whiskey down to its components. If you have any interest in purchasing a kit of your own, head on over to bourbonrealtalk.com/shop and pick one up. Thank you for listening.
Hello, everybody out there in Bourbon Real Talk land. Randy Sullivan here with a guest that we've had on the show before. I think you may be the first repeat guest.
All right.
Yeah, very exciting.
Deeply honored.
Sadly, this had to be done because the first time we recorded, the sound was so bad that I could barely listen to it. Yeah, it was not a good situation. But I've bought an entire new studio since then, and we're recording in a much better location.
Yeah.
So we got a little carpet on the floor, so on and so forth. So this is Tony Lucca, musical sensation.
Thank you.
My favorite musical artist.
Wow.
On planet Earth. And probably in the universe. I mean, I don't know how many artists there are in other places. But
seen on that other galaxy.
Or something. But I'm sure I'd like you the most. So, so having a little bit of a house concert here tonight.
Yeah.
Gonna eat some good food with some good friends and listen to some good music.
Sounds like a plan, a fine plan.
A fine plan. And we're also gonna drink some very old whiskey. So for those of you who are watching this because you're a Tony Lucca fan, this is Bourbon Real Talk. And what I do is I ply people with whiskey, typically bourbon, and then I ask them deep interpersonal questions, and the whiskey helps bring all of that good stuff out. So stay tuned because you're gonna get the inside scoop on Tony Lucca's life in the entertainment industry. And so what we have for Tony to drink today is a old Austin Nichols Wild Turkey 8-year age stated bourbon that was sold in Japan. So I don't know if you can see that. Are you gonna come into focus? No, there's too much light. There it goes. Yeah, so you can see it's got Japanese writing all over it. So that's what you're drinking. And I think I'm gonna roll with this Old Forester Dusty. So in bourbon, we call these old bottles Dusties because when you find them, they're usually at the back of a liquor store shelf and they're covered with dust. So, but I think in most states that allow these to be sold, they're referred to as vintage spirits. But anyway, so we'll leave that there. We're gonna drink more of this later anyway. All right. So you got your Wild Turkey, got my Old Forester. You want to cheers it up? Let's cheers it up.
For sure. To take two.
Take two, that's right. And so on these, I usually detect a little bit of a musty earthiness when they get old like this. And a lot of people characterize it as leather, you know? Maybe a little bit of like a machine oil smell or something like that. But it's a highly sought after flavor. So
which of these is older?
I actually don't know. I have that information somewhere. I just have forgotten it. I'm thinking that this Austin Nichols is probably older. I think this is from the mid-90s.
Okay.
I think this one's a little bit older. This one I know is from 1990 because it's the person that gave it to me put a neck tag on it. But So the oldest whiskey I have in the house is 1909.
Wow.
And it actually still tastes good, which is kind of weird.
Insane.
Yeah, kind of weird.
Wow.
So
good.
Yeah, and it's got good color. So this one we haven't tried this one yet. But if you look at it in the light, you see it's a little bit hazy.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes they get a little bit hazy with time. It doesn't mean they're bad, but sometimes that can be an indication that they've got a little bit too much oxygen. But yours has flawless color.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Good looking.
Yeah, so this is good stuff. So for those people who are familiar with my podcast and watching because they pay attention to podcasts, tell everybody, in brief, your history in the music industry. where you got started, what you've done.
Yeah, I mean, I came up playing in garage bands up in Detroit as a kid, getting snuck into clubs to play underage kind of thing, and started getting paid to play and realized like, we're gonna do it, be a band kind of thing. And then got a really crazy break going into high school to be on the Disney Channel's All New Mickey Mouse Club, which was like the '90s version of the old classic Mickey Mouse Club thing, which was incredible. It was like boot camp for the entertainment industry. I learned a lot and worked with some exceptionally talented people, future iconic figures of the popular culture,
Sure.
Music scene. Timberlake, Britney Spears, Christina, Ryan Gosling, Kerry Russell. But it was far more abstract in hindsight than it was at the time. It was
Right.
just like, wow, it was just, we were all big fish in small ponds, and now we were all kind of hanging in the same aquarium. So it was cool. But then, after that, there was really no turning back. I went out to LA to pursue whatever could come my way in the entertainment world. Didn't really
Acting and music.
Yeah, I didn't really have a clear vision about what I wanted. Just knew that I had a pretty serious leg up and could probably work. So I didn't do the college thing like I had kind of planned to do through high school, but got out there and the acting thing panned out a little quicker. I had pretty legit representation as manager and agents go. And I was working right away, and I worked quite a bit, really, given the scope of like how often the working actors actually work.
Right.
Here I was coming off of 4 years of working every day and being a series regular and having a job, and now I'm out there doing the Hollywood Shuffle, trying to get gigs, trying to get booked on something. And if I would go 3 months, 4 months without getting booked on something, I would start to panic,
Sure.
Whereas some people go 3-4 years without getting something booked, and you can't panic. You got to love it enough to see it through. And I just didn't. I didn't really love the craft of it enough to just really keep my nose to the grindstone. I couldn't deal with the rejection. I couldn't deal with being at the mercy of so many other creative voices and the not so creative subjective voices out there. That it's like you're too this, you're too that, you're not this, you're not that, and
you're like, how much is this is you feel like you need to say something negative, and how much of this is actually actionable
right,
feedback?
Right, and so. And that's if you want to know what the feedback is. Otherwise, you just keep cruising without getting any constructive criticism or anything, But it just got to where, like, you know what? I've got to be able to say something else. I've got to be able to offer up more of my own voice to this, and something a little more instantly gratifying, like picking up a guitar and writing a song. And so literally that's kind of how it started. I was having a bad run of auditions and came home from one. I was going through a breakup, grabbed my guitar, wrote this song in like 45 minutes, and I was like, that's
what I want to do.
That's what I want to do.
Right.
So I literally called my manager and was like, hey, I'm done acting. I just want to do music. And she's like, oh, let me know if you need any help. I'm like, okay. And that was it, and for a long time, there were some shows that emerged, like, One Tree Hill and these different shows, the WB, where there'd be someone who plays the guitar, sings, and you constantly throw these things at me. You want to try this? Want to try this? And but nothing solid. And once I started making records and touring, that was really it. I had all my eggs in that basket. And just started. I got online to see where some of those old fans were. Because the internet was really pretty brand new still at that time. 1998 was when I started TonyLuca.com. I got my own domain before I realized how important that would be.
Right.
Found where some of these old Mouse Club fans were hiding out and corralled them over to my world and started selling CDs through my website. They had to download this form. They had to download and print this form and fill it out. Send me a check to my post office box. I'd go get the check, and I'd go to my shed and process the orders myself. And it was just,
it seemed normal at the time.
It seemed normal. It seemed like a hustle. It seemed like, man, it's an exciting time to be in music and that whole thing. And I just felt like, yeah, this is great. But then it was the first of many. Now I'm like 10 full-length albums in, a good handful of EPs, and a long career of independence with a couple highlights of record deals and different things that came along. Little shots in the arm that made me realize I wasn't crazy. But yeah, a lot of random stuff as well.
Sure,
which
yeah.
maybe we'll get into today.
Yeah. So Tony can be very humble. So I'll brag on you a little bit. So yes, lots of full-length albums, a catalog of music that's much larger than a lot of artists that are very, very well known, but also came in third on a season of The Voice. Toured with Adam Levine and Maroon 5, was signed to his label for a short period of time. And so you have had those, highlights of massive exposure to large quantities of people and validation too, letting you know that, people
Right.
appreciate your talents
Right.
and abilities. And so we actually, well, I'll tell you this, we hired Tony to come perform at our 20th wedding anniversary. And part of the package was we had to send emails to him about our relationship, my wife and I, Lindsay. And then he wrote a song about that. And so, truth be told, we were in a big fight when we wrote the emails. And my email was super raw, like super duper raw. And way more honest than it probably should have been. And I think it resulted in a much better song.
Well, yeah, like I that's actually the banter when I introduced the song anymore. It's like, it was, Lindsay gave a very thorough account of things, and I could have wrote a pretty meaningful song with that. But there was just something about getting the he said, she said version, and then
Right.
it allowed me to be like, yeah, let's dig in a little deeper with this one.
So I had a very interesting experience because you did release that as a single
Yeah.
on Valentine's Day this year.
Yeah.
And so we were doing brunch Sunday after Valentine's Day, and I just had music playing, and that song came on its own,
Like
right?
random, yeah.
Right, and that was such a
freak out moment.
I was like, oh my gosh, And of course, they're
playing our song,
Lindsay,
literally.
they're playing our song, and the kids are like, would you calm down? You can make it do that anytime. You just have to say the words. I'm like, I know, but we didn't make it do it. It did it on its own. That's amazing. And so for that and many other reasons, I've followed your career for years. You have a special place in my heart to the point that I have my special hat and my special boots on.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's going to get sad for a second, but I'm going to bring it back around. So I wear fedoras pretty regularly, and people will roast me for it because apparently you have to be a certain level of cool to wear a fedora. And there's clearly a lot of people out there that consume my videos online that think I'm not above the line. You know what I'm saying? So they got to give me a hard time.
You don't meet the threshold. Yeah.
Right, and the truth is that I never wore fedoras, but my younger brother took his life in 2014, and when we were cleaning out his effects from the house that he lived in, I took two things of his, this hat and these boots. And so whenever something special happens in my life, like my favorite recording artist comes to my house and performs a concert, I will sometimes put on my brother's hat and his boots so that he is there with me in spirit to experience it with me.
So cool, man.
And also, if you ever roast me for wearing a fedora, just remember this story because I can make you feel like you're a huge horses behind. But I normally don't. I just go, no, I get it. I'm not cool enough. It's fine.
Yeah, roll with it, right.
Roll with it. But so that's the brief history of Tony Lucca. Oh, we got some dogs barking in the background. The window must be open. So we actually have come up with some crowdsourced questions for an interview of a friend of yours. So we're going to ask some of those.
Cool.
Because we interviewed Damon Pampolino, which you introduced me to so that you can make that happen. So I appreciate that.
Man.
And one of the questions was, what has been your favorite tour memory? Or maybe not your favorite, but something that really sticks out.
Favorite tour memory, man. That's interesting. There's been a lot of cool moments. I think I remember one of my first big tours was opening for NSYNC, which was totally crazy and weird. And when I tell some people that, they're like, "What? How did that happen?" But it was cool. It was like my first major tour, coast to coast, in a tour bus. Like I was on their tour bus, and you know, that's one heck of a way to like, you know, get invited to the ball.
Right,
like here you go. Here's how this goes, and you're like, whoa, like almost famous. Every day was almost famous, you know.
Right.
And so, you know, because on that tour, my God, we toured with Genuine. There were different openers, different direct support throughout that tour.
Right.
Genuine was on the West Coast, and then Smash Mouth. You know, like they were out there still doing the hey now you're an all-star, and then P Diddy. It was me, P Diddy, and NSYNC on the last leg of that tour on the East Coast, and so as it is in that world when you're doing arenas and stuff, the headliner, they get like, you know, the Mavericks dressing, you know, the locker room.
Yeah,
like that they repurpose that into the NSYNC's dressing room, right? And they've got various dressing rooms. They've got like the Commons dressing room. They've got like the quiet room there where you go get some tea and sit and meditate, whatever you got to do. They've got the one with the video games and stuff. And then they production creates makeshift rooms for the other acts, right? So I would always wind up kind of next to whoever the other act was. Like they would put us over here, or sometimes there was like a curtain between us, whatever. And I burn Nag Champa. It's a particular incense from India, and it's just got this really warm, comforting smell. Like if I take that wherever I go on tour, I burn it, and I feel like I'm at home. I can be home anywhere if I got the Nag Champa, and so I would burn that until they told me I couldn't, you know, in all these arenas and stuff.
Right.
And then, but then one day I'm walking out of my dressing room, and I walk past P Diddy, who's sitting on this table in a hallway, and he's got his friends and his people around him, and it's, you know, like it's after sound check, and we're all just kind of waiting for the show to start, and he's in like plain clothes, just sitting there, and I walk past him, and he sticks his arm out, and he grabs me, and he goes, "Hey man," and I was like, "Yeah." He said, "What's that stuff you burn?" And I said, "That's Nag Champa incense. Do you not like it? I don't have to burn. I just, you know, like I'm all nervous because like, no man, where can I get that? I'm like, I got plenty. I got a whole box. I gave P Diddy his first box of Nag Champa.
Oh, nice.
So I imagine he probably, you know, if you like it, you love it, and you have it the rest of your life. That's my take on it.
That is awesome.
So that was a funny story. I was like, oh.
And so you've gone on all of these tours, and you know you've been with, you know, major acts and in front of huge crowds. What's one of the biggest mishaps that you've had happen on stage?
Oh man, there's been a lot of those, but you know, there was on a bigger scale, like, you know, after the NSYNC tour, same year, I managed to get out on tour with Mark Anthony, which was another kind of a long, how the hell that happened story. But yeah, Mark Anthony, same thing, North American tour, parts of Canada, the States, coast to coast, down into Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico, and just crazy ride. But there were some markets, like certain cities that, because he was doing both pop and salsa. Like if you go see his show, half of it was in you know, Spanish, and he's singing full on, and he's got his Latin salsa band up there, and then the other half of his show are his more commercial pop hits as well. So it's kind of like two bands in one, and the show is incredible. He's just a sensational singer. But in certain markets, his audience, like the Latinos that come to his shows, they don't even dig his pop stuff so much. They just want to hear the salsa. Right? And one of those markets was Philadelphia.
Okay.
And I didn't know this, right? And so I come out there, and it was the first time I'd ever heard the word Boricua, which is, you know, like the Puerto Rican, which just means Puerto Rican, I guess, or the Puerto Rican, the Boricua. And I go out there, this gringo kid, you know, like blue jeans, a flannel shirt, and bare feet, and an acoustic guitar, and I'm out there like trying to play my, you know, heartbreak love song kind of stuff. And I didn't get anything thrown at me, you
Right,
know.
right.
But the natives grew restless. You
Right.
could just like hear like, and all of a
Is
sudden
the tour manager, like, calling
people
you
are
up?
screaming, "Buddy, crowd!" I'm like, "What does that mean? Oh God, I just want to go home, oh, mommy." No, it was just like I couldn't get off the stage fast enough. But one of my favorite stage recollections was I had a CD release party for Canyon Songs, my album Canyon Songs, at the. I was at Key Club. No, it wasn't Key Club. It was the Knitting Factory in Los Angeles, and I had invited all my friends, musical companions, to come and sit in and play some of these songs. Because a lot of them were on the record, but as well, it was just like a really cool celebration to have all your friends show up and support and get up there and sit in and play. And I had also just done that song Devil Town for Friday Night Lights, and we were closing out the show with a big, jam of Devil Town.
Right.
I got everyone playing. You got 3 people sitting at the piano playing. There's 4 guitar players up there. Got people singing, and I had some drinks. It was a party. We're celebrating. I'd had a few drinks, but I wasn't like
Wasted.
I wasn't wasted. I was nowhere near wasted. I was too excited, too present, too like really into this, and happy to give a great show. But that isn't me. Like, I'm so happy that the show went so well, and here we are in the finale, and I'm like building the song up, and I'm playing it. I just like get so excited. All of a sudden, I trip over an amp. My feet fly up. The guitar goes off, and it's on YouTube. It's out there. I don't know the title of it. You can look up Tony Luca, Devil Town, Knitting Factory. And about 5 minutes in, you see me go ass over teacup. And my buddy Tim Jones from the Whiskey Wolves, he's leaning over and pulling me up and puts the guitar back on me. Just get back out
The
there.
show must go on.
The band just kept playing, and I was so embarrassed, but because I knew it was gonna look like I was drunken Brewster up there.
Yeah.
I was not drunk. I was just so excited that I was on another planet. But it happens, man. It happens.
I mean, if you spend that much time up on a stage,
Eventually,
something's going to happen. Yeah. See, I have the advantage that no one sees anything that I don't want them to see. I just edit it out, right? But when you're live in front of people and there's more than one camera on you, because nowadays everyone's got a video camera.
Everyone's got a damn camera. Right?
Yeah, so that's and we're going to talk about how technology has changed things later. But so you have met a lot of these celebrities. What are a couple of your top celebrity interaction stories that you can share with us?
Well, I think the one that if there was ever to be a biopic movie, that I could help consult on and be there to kind of help tell the story, there'd be a few scenes about the Mark Anthony thing. That was a pretty unique thing, and he was going through a pretty interesting time, with divorce and stuff, separation from his wife, and obviously not getting into any of that. But he had also just come off this big North American tour, and he and his brother had just purchased this island out in the their own key or whatever, and so after the tour wrapped, we wrapped in the Dominican Republic, and part of his contract for the deal was that he got this villa on a golf course, his own house with a maid, butler, the whole bit. And he just vacationed there for a handful of days. And so the last night of the tour, we had a big party at his place, and he says, "Hey, what do we'd made friends on the tour," and he said, "What do you have to do after this?" And I'm like, "I'm just going back to Michigan and spend some time with my folks and get back out to LA eventually." And he's like, "So you don't have anywhere to go?" And I'm like, "Not right now, man, no." And he's like, "Why don't you stay here? Just stick around, Okay. So I wound up hanging with him for a couple days, here with the closest members of his entourage, and dignitaries coming over all day, to meet and say hi, and you'd think, okay, this is the new norm, what's up? But then, everything, comes to an end at some point, and I'm like, all right, so I got to make plans to get, and he goes, well, what do you got to do now? I'm like, just like I said, I'm heading back to Michigan. Well, come to Miami. We're gonna go stay on the boat for the next week, and we're gonna go to Miami Harbor, and I'm like, just come hang on your boat. Yeah, dude, we'll just come on. We're going to go shopping. We're going to buy some stuff for the island and da-da-da-da. I'm like, what is my life right now? Yes, twist my arm. So I go stay on this yacht in Miami Harbor with Mark Anthony. Just basically me and Mark Anthony are living aboard this boat with his crew. They're cooking meals, and we took it out a couple times. It was nuts. It was totally nuts. But while we're on the boat, this was the craziest, man. We're sitting there watching a movie. We're getting ready to watch a movie on the boat. There's some friends over. We're hanging out, and he says, "Oh, get this! I just bought a Hummer last night up in the Bronx, and and I got a nephew, 17, and he's gonna drive it down, and he'll be here in like the next few hours." And I'm like, "What are you talking about, man? Like." Really? You driving straight through from New York to Miami to bring you your new home? Like, that is so awesome. That's some rock star stuff, man. That's so cool. And sure enough, halfway through the movie, he's like, "Oh, he's here. Let's go. Like, wow. We push pause. We step out. We get off the boat. We go down the dock, back to the parking lot. And here's this shiny black, brand new. It's got as many miles as it takes to get from the Bronx to Miami on it. And we're like, whoa, man, I'm like, this is so cool, man. That's what a cool thing. Congrats, you got a new Hummer, H2 or whatever it was. That was so super cool, man. And he said, let's take it for a spin. I'm like, yeah, all right, cool. So I go to get around to like maybe go sit shotgun or get in the back seat because we had some friends. And he's like, no, you drive.
What?
You haven't even sat behind me? Are you kidding? Like, I'm not gonna drive your brand new. You drive. He goes, no, you drive. He gets in the back seat, and I drive his Hummer down A1A Ocean Avenue, like with this girl who I was kind of seeing,
right.
And she's the bombshell. She's just a knockout sitting shotgun. I'm like, windows down, like. This is insane! And I'm looking back at Mark Anthony, he's just chilling in his back and he's like, this is so cool, man. Isn't this so cool? I'm like, you're telling me, like, what is this? This is amazing, man. And it really was like an opportunity of a lifetime, just kind of kick it, be in such close proximity with this guy and be trusted like that and be homies like that. But then eventually, like I said, I had to like excuse myself because
I gotta make money.
I had literally spent about a week and a half, 2 weeks, just pretty much like his sidekick for which was fun and it was totally cool. But I was like, all right, man, you gotta go and I gotta go. Right. Life will never be the same after this. Yeah, it was wild, man.
Wow. And so, do y'all like maintain contact?
Man, and that's the weird part, and this is not to disparage him because I know how it is. To a degree, I can imagine how it is for someone like that. But no, he, again, without getting lost in the weeds on the backstory here, the pre-story, but the reason why the whole thing happened was because I was being managed by his brother, who was also managing him at the time.
Oh, gotcha.
His brother had managed him from the get-go, and was his most staunch ally and supporter, and he wanted to like expand and get a little roster going. And I was like, man, I'd love to be a part of it. He wanted to, help me make a record and showcase me and do all the proper things. Pretty much on the heels of this farewell and that tour, as I understand it, Mark got offered a management situation with one of the bigger moguls,
right.
Tommy Mottola, I believe, who was like, man, I'll make you real big and let's do this and we'll strategize different things and whatever. And so I guess he went
with that management option.
And his brother was kind of left going like, well, damn, this is how the cookie crumbles. And so with that, his brother just wasn't up for or in a position to really help out too much. So it was kind of a bummer. Had that continued to pan out, I'm sure we would have continued to cross paths and spend more time together. But I have no doubt that if and when I were to cross paths at some hobnob, a red carpet thing, that it would be a very dear embrace and like, man, we would do some catching up and talk about that crazy couple of weeks.
So, but you've met a lot of celebrities, and the last time that we got together, we were talking about you being at. Here, try this guy. This is Old Bardstown, also Japan only.
Yeah. So Bardstown is right there in Kentucky on the way up out of Nashville.
Yeah, and this is actually an interesting whiskey because it's Old the brand Old Bardstown didn't make it.
Okay.
Apparently, this is
the foggier one. Right?
yeah. It's a little foggy.
Not so bad.
Yeah, this one's interesting. You may not like it. It's got a
Cloudy.
a little bit of a lemon, a lemon zest thing going on, along with like some leather and petrol machine oil. It's weird. It's a weird one.
That sounds so enticing.
So the last time we recorded, you told a story about being at an Oscar party. I think it was like.
Oh yeah. It was the Vanity Fair party.
Yeah.
Well, it was Elton John's.
Party. You know,
Lifestyle.
Right.
In Style magazine. Right.
But then you actually have been in close proximity to Kevin Costner too, right?
Yeah, the Costner thing was pretty funny, man. I had this buddy out in LA who was just. He was one of the first guys I ever knew who first person I ever heard utter the letters HD with regards to high def camera. He had a high def Sony camera that he was just all over the moon about, you know, and he was like, this is the future of television and film broadcasting. People could be using HD, high def. I'm like, okay, high def. But he would come to my shows and film my shows and like single camera style. And he became a big fan of the tunes because he was just really becoming, you know, he was in close proximity to me and my work. And so we put out a DVD of like some of his videos of my stuff. He was, you know, kind of an aspiring filmmaker from Orange County. You know, he had a hustler's heart, and he was a good dude and creative as all get out, and a fun hang. But he had gone to school, high school, I think, with this girl Christine Baumgartner, and he they had parted ways after high school for years and whatnot, and then eventually they got back in touch. He found out that she was dating Kevin Costner, and he was like, that's so crazy, Christine, oh my God, that's amazing, da-da-da-da. Well, this guy was a bit of a dreamer as well, my buddy, and he would just come up with these things. Wouldn't it be cool if da-da-da-da-da-da-da? And I'm like, yeah,
That'd be totally cool.
Smoking. Oh man, seriously,
That's not gonna happen.
whatever, dude. Like in a million years, yeah, that'd be cool. You know, but he would see it. He could see it, and he would keep saying it. And he would, I'm telling you, one of these days, man, one of these days, it's gonna do da-da-da. So one of his days was that the current plan that he could foresee was he said, wouldn't it be cool if you know, we shot a video and she shows it to Kev and like, you know, I get him into your music, and then like, you know, we get a song in one of his movies and I get to kind of direct the thing, and I'm like, yep, whatever,
Not gonna
bro.
argue
Like,
with that.
go ahead, whatever you need from me, let me know how I can help make this happen. So I gave him a T-shirt and CDs, and sure enough, he passed it on to Christine, and sure enough, Kevin Costner becomes a fan of my music, and I'm like, what? Really?
wait,
she
what?
said, no, they went up to Wine Country and they listened to your record the whole way up, and he just fell in love with the whole thing. I'm like, that's crazy. So then her and I finally crossed paths because her dad just opens this pub in Orange County, and he wants to do a grand opening party, and my buddy Dave convinces her to tell her dad, you should hire Tony to
Right.
do the music to for your thing. Okay, so I come down, and so we get to meet before the gig, before the party, the grand opening party, and I go have lunch with her, my buddy, and her dad at his bar. And I sit down next to her, across from her, and I'm just like, I'm just intoxicated. I can't, I like butterflies to where I can't. She's just so ridiculously gorgeous. And I'm
Right.
just like, oh my God, you're so ridiculously gorgeous. Ugh, wow, what am I? God, get it together. That kind of thing. And okay, yeah, totally got it. We go over the plan of attack for the party and this whole thing, right? And so then I we play the gig, and halfway through, the night I took a break, and during the break she comes to me and she says, I would like to see you tomorrow before you leave town if that's possible. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Dave and I can swing by and we'll pay you a visit. She says, no, just you. It's like, okay. he had told me that she wasn't an aspiring songwriter per se, but that she was, creative and had some poetry and some writing things, whatever. But maybe that she wanted to write a song
Sure.
for Kevin.
Okay.
And needed help writing a song for Kevin. And I'm like, okay. So I go over to her house the next day, and she just bears it all to me. Like, shares me all of the, the blood and guts of her relationship with this guy. Like, it's not that it's nothing. Like, I knew how this was not, this didn't leave the room, whatever she was sharing with me, but like, whoa. I don't mean like, Kevin, if you're watching, she didn't go into total detail, but she, enough to where like, whoa, like real talk about this relationship with the superstar Kevin Costner. I'm like, wow, so this is happening. And I'm sitting there like trying to kind of come up with ideas on the guitar, and I'm writing down things. And for every line that I came up with for her song, I'm writing another line
And
for her,
another song.
The song I'm writing about her. It was torture. It was torture, man. And so I did it. I wrote the song in the afternoon that I hung out with her, and we just hung out like two good friends. We ordered food. It was a rainy day. I'll never forget it. It was like we had some wine. It was cool, but like, it was tough. So I go back home and make a little recording of it, and I send it to her, and she played it for Kevin on their anniversary, and the gist of the song was like, I can give you everything you want. You have to let me in, though.
Right, yeah.
Apparently, like, he's like us, he's kind of guarded to a degree and wasn't like really opening up the way she needed him to and wanted him to, and that's what the song was about. It was like, hey, man, I'm here. I want to do this. I want to go for the distance, but you're gonna have to let me in. And so for me to have written this song, he was well aware that she had shared some pretty
intimate stuff.
Stuff, and because I don't want to say I nailed it, but I nailed it. Like,
I'm sure you did.
I did. I gave exactly what I brought it right to the table, and so he heard it and he flipped out on it. And from that moment on, he was like he wanted to hang. Like, he wanted, to get to know me and appreciate what I was doing. But then she said like, hey, when can I see you again? And I'm like, no, that's not how this works. Like, no, we wrote a song, and maybe you have aspirations of writing more songs, and that's cool, and you should do that, but it won't be with me because I'm just,
can't do that.
I dodged the bullet. You guys, he winds up proposing to her, and they get married, and they wind up getting married, and that was totally rosy, and that was great. But like, I had to.
Yeah.
I had to do that.
Turn it off.
And so her and I lost touch. We didn't talk much. And then finally she told me one day that Kevin said, so what happened with your friend Tony? Did he fall in love with you? And I was like, oh man, of course that's what happened, Kevin! And
You've seen her, right?
You've seen this woman, right? And so, yeah, we had a good laugh about it. Sometime later, a few years later, he invited me up to, he does this big 4th of July party up at his house in Carpinteria, which is just south of Santa Barbara. A pretty rad spread on the water up there, and he hosts this big annual 4th of July, I think it's 4th of July or Memorial Day, one of the big ones, and he invites people over there for like 3 days straight. Just come over any time of the day. There's always food, there's drinks, get in the water, hang out, there's pool and all this. And so he invited me up to play for folks at this party, like a house concert basically. And I brought my girlfriend that I was dating at the time, and we came and stayed and hung out and had a really good time with him and Christine, and we joked about like, the beginning of it all.
Right.
Like, man, I just, and I gushed for a while, but it was totally cool.
Yeah. Well, that's cool that he had a good attitude about it.
Well, yeah, he totally did and does, and it's like, okay, but because I'll never forget, there was other times when I hung out at his place where he would kind of treat me as an equal, like right. as a peer. He would ask my opinion on things. He invited me once to when they were sound editing the movie Open. Oh well, here's how this all comes back together. Open Range was the movie he directed with him and Robert Duvall. It was a Western. It didn't really do too well at the box office, but it did well on DVD and ancillary markets the world over. It was pretty famous. And my buddy Dave, who started this whole thing,
Right.
was the on-set, behind-the-scenes videographer. He got all the behind-the-scenes footage, and he put together, him and Christine edited this video of all the behind-the-scenes stuff as bonus material for the DVD.
That did well.
To my song "Open Range," or to my song "Broken Wagon" from my Shotgun album.
Uh-huh.
So if you buy the DVD of Open Range, go to the bonus material and click on "Broken Wagon." It's my song with footage that my buddy Dave shot, edited by Christine. The details are a little different than what Dave's initial vision was, but
That's
broad
basically-
brushstrokes,
right.
that's what he
envisioned.
said, your music and Kev will make a thing,
Yeah.
we'll do a movie, and Christine, and I'm like, man, after that, I'll never forget. I was like, I will never shoot down someone else's
This idea, right?
idea, pipe dream or otherwise. Like, hey, if you dream it, it
can
happen. And that was a huge, cool lesson for me. And everybody won, It was like super cool. But yeah, when they were working on the movie, I got to go in and watch them sound edit the first opening sequence, and I got to watch, and then they finished, and Kevin goes around the room asking all the engineers and the tech guys like what they think, and then I'm just sitting there watching. He goes, and Tony, what did you think? What do you think?
You're like, I think I shouldn't be here.
I think it's good. I might have to see it again, but
Yeah. That's amazing.
but I just, but it was also like, yeah, a lesson for me as well. Like, you never know who, where, and when you're going to encounter someone whose dedication to their craft and the work that they put in on their career reflects and resembles your own, and
sure.
I think Kevin saw that.
can
in
see
me.
that
He
part
saw
of the
that.
artistry,
Like,
right,
He knows,
yeah.
like, hey man, you are a craftsman. You write songs, and that's what you do. And I appreciate your songs. I think they're up to snuff of someone that I would ask the opinion of on my movie. It's like, okay.
Thank you for tuning in to part 1 of Celebrity Experiences with Tony Lucca. If you'd like to hear the second part of this interview, please subscribe to our channel, Bourbon Real Talk. You won't believe how exciting the other stories are that Tony shared with me today, and you won't want to miss it. And while you're there, if you don't mind, please subscribe, like, and review. It'll help more people find the channel. Talk to you next week.